Hi, it's Jessie. I'm back again, and today I am talking about Jeremiah 12. In Jeremiah 12, Jeremiah is complaining about the evil out in the world, how it prospers, how he says he charges God with it, how you plant them and they take root and they grow and they bear fruit, and you're always on their lips but far from their hearts. And um, Jeremiah is complaining because he doesn't prosper in this world, but the wicked do, and he's struggling, he's crying out to God. He's like, "Come on, they're working iniquity." He's like, "Why do you let the world be like this?" He's like, "I see you put your judgments on the earth. The grass in every field is withered and the land is parched. Um, there's a drought, and there's a famine coming, and Jeremiah can see this, and he's wondering why does he make everyone suffer when these people are wicked. He says, drag them off like sheep to be butchered, set them apart for the day of slaughter. And God, he responds to Jeremiah by saying, if you have raced with men on foot and they have worn you out, because when you're complaining like this, when your vision is narrowed to the people around you, you can't see the big picture, and you're bound to complain and say, bring destruction now, let it come now, let them all die, wipe them out, slaughter them all. It's real easy to get worn out. He says, if you have raced with men on foot and they wore you out, how can you compete with horses? Um, what God is saying here is that, oh, Jeremiah, there's a bigger battle to come. And this is just preparation for later on. This is just to get you used to it. This is a process. Somebody says I'm creative, but I don't think that they understand that when when God wants to teach you something, He walks you through it. So when I look back on my life, I go, the first beast gave power to the second beast, who gave power to this big old seven-headed beast, and now I can see that my whole life was preparation. But you know what? That first beast, he broke my mind. And it's not I was crying out to the world, crying out to God for the world to be destroyed. I wanted to die because he broke my mind. And I saw that the world was functioning, and I was like the one who didn't belong in it. And so I wanted to die. That second beast, it broke my heart. It played with love. You got a Delilah. You read about Delilah. Delilah talks good game. She says everything you need to hear, and really she's just there to kill you. Delilah breaks your heart, and Delilah also has you in this point where you want to Samson out, where you want to say forget them all and knock down the supports to the palace or the temple. What was it? And he knocked down the building, and he killed more people in that day than he killed in all his wars and escapades before that. And after that, the people lived in peace. Um, God is here saying, you're racing with men on foot. You're going at people face to face. I went on people face to face. That first beast, he couldn't beat me, right? He broke my mind, but I lived through it, and I came out of it, and I decided to build on my life, and I went to school, and I studied, and I learned. But it wasn't what I learned in the books that taught me so much about the world. It was my interactions with others, my experience with others that taught me more about the world than the actual books, right? Face to face is one thing. Face to face with that second beast. That first beast who couldn't beat me. Well, he retained his strength, after that mortal head wound where he had to confess his crimes to be able to survive the punishment that was going to be inflicted upon him, you know. So after that, then he goes around and he goes into every relationship that I have, everybody who I have experience with, everybody who has access to me, and he taints the narrative and he says, she ruined my life. He broke my mind. You know, he pinned me down. He spit in my face. He told me no one will ever love you. You know, he did horrible things. He tortured children and said, oh, look, Jess, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, he did so much bad stuff. And I'm the one who ruined his life. This is the narrative that he sold while I was moving on from what happened way back when my mind got broken, when I was trying to rebuild my life and retake my life. So you see, face to face, he couldn't beat me, but he mounted up. And where he mounted up, this second beast that broke my heart, he couldn't break me. He couldn't make me give up. You know, I got up from that. I went back to school. I tried to rebuild my life. But this second beast, he also mounts up on those people around me. And he gets into other people. And he controls the narrative the same as the first beast. So where God says, you've raced with men on foot. They wore you out face to face. They wore you out face to face. How are you going to compete with the horses? God is saying, you're not seeing the bigger picture. This battle isn't over. It's not just you're going to be here in this moment. It's they're going to mount up. And then it's going to go into another beast who's going to mount up. Because the beast is always going to be attracted to you. If you are Jewish and you ever heard that God is clothed with the klippah, you know, the klippot, you understand that the klippot is what we call the evil in the world, you know. And the evil in the world, it has a way of insulating you from the rest of the evil outside of the world. Like that first beast, if you messed with me, my brother would knock out your teeth. That second beast, if you messed with me, that monster would come charging, you know. You don't understand. They destroy you while protecting you. And so there's a lot of confusion there. And they wear you out going face to face until you understand what you're dealing with, until you see that what they really wanted you to do was like submit to them, to lift them up, because they're so insecure and they need their ego stroked all the time. They can't handle any kind of exposure. They need you to cover them all the time. They need you to justify their sins. They need you to be a mother for them, because maybe their mother taught them the wrong way, and they're looking for something, and they're taunting you. They're taunting you. They'll say that sin gives place, right? This second piece where you learn that sin gives place, where you learn that just because you're in love, just because you think you're going to marry someone, just because you've got it all planned out and mapped out with them, you learn that until the vow is made, all this talk means nothing, and you get yourself in a situation where you have to carry the shame for both sides, because he's got no intent on sticking around, and he controls the narrative, preserving his life so that you look like you're the one who was to blame for being robbed. They control the narrative of what's actually happening. Face to face, you don't realize it, because they shine a bright light in your face, and This is after they've tussled with you, after they've tried to destroy you. They come back to you after that, and they want to be your friend. They want to be your friend. They need your help. They want to be a part of your life. They're sorry. They were messed up. They were going through some things. Do you know what they were going through? They're sorry. They didn't mean it. Can we start over again, And that's where you find that they're only there to gather information on you. They're only there to spy. And they take this information. They see who you're connected to. And they go back. And they listen for crumbs. And they go back and they take these crumbs and they twist these crumbs. They twist these crumbs in such a way. In such a way, But you see, Jeremiah, he didn't get too far, because God warned him that you're worn out by these footmen, these men on foot. But later on, they're going to be on horses. These men on foot are going to mount up on other people to drive their cause while they pretend to be your friend. Because if they can't beat you in battle, surely they can cuddle up next to you and betray you. And if you think that it's not the way that it has happened throughout all eternity, I beg you to go back and read the books of the Maccabees, right? The Maccabees, they were a small group of men who took down an empire. And though the king should have been put away, though the empire should have never risen again, these jokers, they came back and they cuddled up. After the four brothers were wiped out, and Simon was the only one remaining, this one guy, he wants to preserve his life. So he wants to honor Simon. And he honors Simon with a banquet where he then poisons Simon. See, this is where they tell you got to watch out for these footmen, because they work the crowd. They get the crowd involved. We got all these people here. We're coming to honor you, to lift you up, to thank you for establishing peace in the world, and then they poison them in front of all the people. I see why Jeremiah complained about the people are wicked. The people are wicked, and the land is dry. The earth is parched. I see why Jeremiah had this complaint, but Jeremiah, he wasn't able to connect the dots enough, because he had not yet gotten past the footmen at this point to recognize the game. See, when you read the Bible, you have to understand that this isn't just an introduction to let you know God, to know of His ways, to know how to interact with God, how to please God. This word here sets the parameters for all behavior in the world. It tells you about all the game, which is why when my horses mounted up on footmen against me, see, Jeremiah ain't seen nothing yet. When that seven-headed beast mounts up on the horses, who mounts up on the footmen, woo, Jeremiah, it makes me understand why God said, if you will suffer for me, you will overcome. Because Jeremiah, they wore you out. And you didn't even have the army yet. They wore you out. And no preacher preaches this. Nobody tells you this about the Bible. That this is the game of evil all along. This is what you have to survive. And so when that first beast couldn't beat me, and then wanted to be my friend, and then mounted up on those around me, I see that game. When that second beast mounts up, joins up with the first beast, mounts up on all those around me, I see that game. when that seven-headed beast couldn't beat me, when they worked through all the people around me, go back and join up with the second beast and the first beast. I see the game. It broke me while I was in it. It broke me while I was trying to fight it because I assumed I was dealing with righteous people. I was assuming I was dealing with good people, but then I learned that the only thing that evil needs to survive are good hands to work with. You didn't catch that. Evil survives by touting a righteous cause and mounting up on footmen, using righteous hands, good people's hands, to do their bidding, to wear you out, because their aim is to break you. If you're not lifting them up, stroking their ego, putting them in power, bowing down to them, they want to take you out. You cannot be equals among them. There is no democracy. They sit as king, and if you don't bow, you are a threat. You must die. Don't matter if you're the first beast, the second beast, the seven-headed beast. Seven-headed beast ought to let you know that this joker learned how to preserve its life by lifting up some other people with it, by building gates like, teachers and police officers and lawyers and doctors and dentists. This beast learned to stay high by bringing some other people a little higher above the footmen down here and teaching them his game, showing them this is how we get power in the world. And meanwhile, no one is using their own hands. People are working the narrative to work other people's opinions, to work their hands. It doesn't matter if they're using other people to control the narrative with rumors or if they're entering it into a case file. They are exploiting their ability to doctor your narrative so that they can convince other people to kill you. Yes, Jeremiah, I see what you were complaining about, but I beg to differ. The people are not necessarily evil, and this is a long lesson God was trying to teach you, but you got to see the big picture first. The people are not necessarily evil. It's just that evil is using their hands, and evil has set a standard, and you will not overcome this by fighting against them. You must come out of them and raise a standard. God says later on here in his rebuke that, I make my inheritance a speckled bird of prey, and I command all the other birds of prey to attack. Go and gather all the wild beasts to devour. But then later he says that he will restore his inheritance, that he will pluck them out, that he will return them to their own land. And the people won't be crying about, oh, they're so evil. They'll be saying, as surely as the Lord lives, as surely as the Lord lives, I don't have to fight this beast, because God said, if I suffer for him, I will overcome. So while Jeremiah delivers, words of life, while he teaches us about things in the world, his lesson falls short because he hasn't gone far enough in it. He hasn't made it to this point where he gets a covenant. And I got my covenant when I was a kid, so I can't say at what point people become part of a covenant, at what point God reveals the plan for overcoming this beast. I can't say what you had to do, because I don't know. When I was little, I was goddamn Jessica, and all I did was try to figure out what I did wrong. That's all I did. I challenged my own entitlements, and God came to me and gave me this covenant. Maybe it was my heart. Maybe it was my posture towards everything. Maybe it was because he knew me before I came into the world. He knew me before he placed me in my mother's womb. I don't know what it was. I can't explain it for you. But I know that this is a covenant for overcoming this stuff, And I don't think that Jeremiah will ever be able to say, as surely as the Lord lives, so long as he's trying to fight against something that he doesn't understand, that the people are enchanted. They've come up in this world. They've been trained up in this world. They see that this is how the world operates. And he doesn't understand why they're not like him. He doesn't understand that he's been trained up differently as I have been trained up differently. And I can probably only say this because I've read Jeremiah, because I love Jeremiah. I have his words hung throughout my house. I have loved you with an everlasting love, I know Jeremiah. I know God knew Jeremiah, I have a heart for him, But I wouldn't know this if I didn't go through so many of these footmen and horses and beasts and, seven-headed beasts and understand that people become enchanted and they adopt ways. They learn how to navigate a system. When I was in my undergrad, I learned that your success in life is dependent on your ability to navigate a system. And if the system is rigged like this, and if you don't think, I mentioned the Maccabees, the Maccabees were taking down something that the philosophers had built, something that they had influenced and contributed, the society that they made where they say, as long as you bow to us, you can do whatever you want. This is democracy at its finest way back when. And it's the same thing now. As long as you bow to them, you have the privilege to do whatever you want. Just lift them up, They'll cover you. They'll say she was going through something. They'll cover you. They'll let you off with mercy. Confess to aggravated sexual battery to a minor under the age of 13. Agree to work with us in taking down someone else, and you don't have to do any jail time. Time served. Bow to us. Do what we want. You get off scot-free. That is the way that this world works. And if your success in life is dependent upon navigating these systems, then somebody like Jeremiah is not going to be able to rise very high. You will find him dressed in filthy rags, just as you find me dressed in filthy rags. We cannot navigate that system. We cannot look the other way. We cannot be silent. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't get to have God's words on your lips and have them be far from your heart. Because I'm going to come and I'm going to drop them in your heart. I'm going to take this sword I have and I'm going to pierce your heart with it. And I'm going to let you know. Let those scales fall off your eyes. Get them out your ears. Because you're going the wrong way. You're destroying the whole world. You want to know why houses are being swallowed up? It's got a lot to do with the wickedness in the world, right? You want to know why the storms are so severe? Look at yourself, and you think, no, I'm good, I'm righteous. Look at me. I'm so high up. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a judge. Woohoo! Guess what? If you're doing the dirty work, if you're doing the dirty deeds behind closed doors, working iniquity, and you think nobody sees you, guess what? God will raise up somebody like me to experience what you do, to be his blowhorn, to tell you, I see you. God saw you way back when. God taught me about way back when. And you are no different now than way back when. So-called experts don't impress me much, okay? So I come to tell you that it's good to be smart. It's good to learn. It's good to have wisdom. But you better check how you treat other people. Because if you operate with this logic of no one will know, they deserve it. Why? Based on something you heard. Some file you've doctored up. What if evil is using you for their hands? And do you know my God, who talks about horses and footmen? He also talks about throwing horse and writer into the sea. So if you don't know him, maybe you should, because maybe you don't experience the punishment, so you think nobody sees, but God is sending warnings all along, and you're not understanding it. Your children have cancer. You're not hearing him. You know, he loves you. He's trying to tell you, you are the cause of what is going on in the world. It is your system that is not right with God that unleashes his fierce anger and his wrath on the world. And yeah, his fierce anger might look like it only touches here. So, whoo, we're safe. Ooh, doggy. But the thing that you have to understand about God is he's telling you something about himself. Did all these people deserve what happened over here? Do they deserve the lifetime of hardship that they're going to have? These are people who suffer for God. The innocent ones, they are people who suffer for God. And you should get this message that if God will do this to them, God will do it to the whole world. You know? And you need to clean up the way that you're running things, because you set the standard for everyone else to follow. I made a video yesterday, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And it's true. Who built this world? Who made this world like this? Are we copying the monsters because we think that it gives us more power and control over the people? Or are the monsters copying the government? Copying the privileged gates? It really gets you scratching your head and wondering about these things, right? It really gets you scratching your head. But you know what? I only know these things. I only see these things because he walked me through it. And I won't say like Jesus says, pick up your cross and follow me. This is the way. I'm not going to say that. But I'm going to say, if you'll listen to me, you might learn something and you might change, because you're so busy crying about evil and the atrocities that are coming upon the earth. It is within the power of your hands. The kingdom of God is at hand. It is within your power of your hands to make things different. How? Come out of her, my people. Decide that I'm not going to sit as judge, because judges have too much responsibility. I don't know all the facts. You're not giving me all the facts. I can't judge from these facts. And just because you're privileged, now that I understand that privileged people are being exploited, I know that I can't take your word 100%, because I need to be responsible for my own judgment. I will be accountable for it. The earth will be accountable for it. It will be my fault for working iniquity. Prosperity is linked. Prosperity is linked. So when you take someone down, you are taking yourself down with them. Be responsible for your judgments. You know, listen to me in this, because it might save you. It might save the world. Might make the world a better place. I'm about out of time because I have like a 30-minute limit on my videos. I'm not really done speaking, but I'm going to cut it here, go back and listen to myself, write down some notes on what I missed out on saying, because sometimes, you know, I got so much going on in here. I see so much, it's hard to condense it into a 30-minute video. And I'll come back and make a part 2 later. God bless and have a good day.